What's going on, guys? Welcome back. What a day, man, for Marvel Rivals. The devs absolutely cooked. The Thing, Human Torch, their kits and trailers, they look awesome. The new map looks good. And on top of all of that, we have a brand new balance patch to go through with a bunch of changes from Season 1. We've got, like, Hulk's team up, one of the best in the game, going down with the nerf, some of the worst characters getting buffs, and practically every support getting some type of nerf as well. And the cool thing is the devs gave me an early access build to take a look at it, so we're not just going to read the notes today, but look at a side-by-side comparison of the old patch to the new patch so you can visually see the difference. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's hop in. We're starting off with Captain America. They're going to be giving him more buffs yet again, adding to his overall survivability and his ultimate. First of all, you can use his shield mid-jump, which is going to be awesome. You couldn't do this before, so this can definitely add to his survivability when trying to stall the point and or in the middle of a battle. Also, they're going to be increasing essentially how fast his shield is thrown when it's bouncing or ricocheting and going in between enemies. This is going to be a nice bump up from 60 to 80 meters per second, and then when supercharged from 100 meters to 150. They're going to be reducing the time it takes to charge his ultimate freedom charge by roughly about 10% from 3100 to 2800. And they're also changing his combat experience by separating his main strike with his left click and his melee attacks. This will allow Captain to use melee while his shield is thrown, and it also won't activate his shield slam. Overall, adding a bit more to his DPS. Next up, we have Doctor Strange being hit with a nerf. They're taking his overall survivability down by reducing his base health from 650 to 600. Now, Groot is getting a small change to how far he can place his Thorn Lash wall. His placement range is going from 15 meters all the way up to 18. Magneto, another tank called out in the dev video, is going to get a slight dip in survivability, but will be compensated with a small surge in offense. This is done by increasing his Iron Volley projectile damage from 35 to 40. Magneto's primary getting this change is massive because you can now left, right, and left click for 80 damage, 90, 80 damage, and all of a sudden 250 health is gone and you have yourself a one-shot combo. But his metallic curtain is taking a pretty big nerf. The energy consumption is going to go from 50 per second to 65 per second, and its maximum duration is going down by a whopping 2 seconds down to 1.5. Now, Thor's getting a nice quality of life buff. They're going to be getting rid of the shared cooldown time after the duration of his awakening, so you can hop right back into the action. Now, Venom got a good amount of buffs last patch, and he's also getting some more this patch. First and foremost, his ultimate is about 10% easier to charge, going from 2800 down to 2500. But on top of that, his knockback effect from his dive ability, changing the enemies from going just straight vertical to more of an inward angle of 75 degrees, essentially grouping them a bit more together. So that's going to be all the changes for the tanks. Let's go to move on to the duelists. Now, first up, we got Black Widow getting a couple of pretty strong buffs. They're going to be increasing her magazine capacity of her rifle from 8, almost double, to 15. Now, they also messed with Black Widow's ultimate. They changed the slow to be a bit less slowy. So it was an 80% slow. Now it's only a 55% slow. But in return, you'll be able to do 15% more damage to everybody affected by it. Now, her team-up partner and the other sharpshooter, Hawkeye, is also getting a couple of buffs. They toned him a bit too much, and they're going to be increasing his base health from 250 up to 275. On top of this, they're slightly nerfing the projectile damage of his blast arrow from 20 to 15, but the spell damage will be increased from 25 to 32. Now, this blast arrow change is nice to get rid of environments, Groot walls, equipment, things like that. His crescent slash knockback ability will be going from a 15-second cooldown down to a 12-second. And his ultimate is also getting a nice buff. When activated, his bow will have an increased draw speed as well as a damage multiplier from 1.2 to 1.35. Now, Hela's got a very small buff. Her damage fall off of her Night Sword Thorn at 30 meters will be changed from 70% to 80. Alrighty, now we have a lot going on with Iron Fist, and it's kind of confusing, so I want to kind of break it all down. Now, they're really making him less of this burst assassin type of character to more of a brawler. He would die quite easily, and you were doing his meditate a lot just to get to that base health. Well, they made him now obviously getting an increase from 250 health to 300, so less meditating, but now his meditate is going to give him 150 bonus health. It does have a new decay mechanism to balance it out. 1 second after the ability ends, it's going to be depleting at a rate of 25 health per second. And this got a main big paragraph here. His punches are going to do less damage, right, to most characters within the game, but it does charge his block faster. Again, adding to a little bit of that survivability. Now, on top of all this, they're kind of giving him a pseudo tank busting ability. Kind of. They're going to be making his damage equal to 1.7% of the opponent's maximum health. So depending on their health pool, mainly people around the 500, 600 mark, he'll be doing more damage, but he'll be doing less damage to those below that. It's gonna be fun kind of where he eventually lands. I think he's gonna play a bit more like Magik in my opinion. All right, now quickly, just a quick buff I want to announce to the channel. We got 2K subs today, which is insane. So I just want to say big props, big thank you guys. And if you subscribe today, it means a lot to really just like help this whole thing, you know, continue to grow. Okay, let's continue. Moving on to Iron Man. Now they're going to be adjusting his Gamma Beam from the Hulk team up, but his individual Unibeam damage is going to go up from 120 per second to 140. In addition, his Armor Overdrive Unibeam will be going up from 180 to 190. This makes Iron Man a bit better of a solo pick and not so reliant on the Hulk. Now we move on to Magik, who has often the highest win rate of the duelists, and they're giving her a slight nerf, but an even better buff. They'll be nerfing her overall damage dealt via her demons from 80 per second down to 72 per second, but her ultimate is going to be 8% easier to charge, going from 3,700 down to 3,400. All right, so Mr. Fantastic obviously needed a buff of some kind, and I'm not sure if this is more of a buff or a nerf. So first of all, they increased the spell field radius after landing the flexible elongation from 2.5 meters to 5, so they're doubling that, and he gets a knockback, right? So this is cool to do, you know, this effect to multiple enemies, but the recharge time is going up from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. That's actually a pretty big nerf overall, and I don't know if that balances out with the changes with the buffs. Now, as for the ultimate, it's better all around for sure. It's just going to take a lot longer to charge, going from 2,800 to 3,400, but the base damage is going to go from 50 to 70. There is going to be a damage fall off, but that was what it was pre-patch, and so it's going to do much more damage overall. All right, next up is Moon Knight. They're going to be changing his ult just a little bit by reducing the Hand of Khonshu's Talon's falling speed after just buffing it. They deemed it a bit too much. They're also getting rid of this 75 damage that was positioned at the center of the Khonshu spell, but they are increasing the damage of every hit from 75 to 150. Now, even though Moon Knight's ult did get kind of nerfed, yes and no. It's more of that you can react to it a bit better, but it does more damage now, but it's just slower. Now, Scarlet Witch is finally getting a little stronger. She'll be gaining an additional 100 bonus health upon activating her ultimate Reality Eraser. After this ability ends or is interrupted, she'll lose this health in about 2 seconds. Spider-Man getting a one single small buff, reducing his web cluster energized time from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds, alongside Star-Lord also getting a small buff to his rocket maximum energy from 1,200 to 800, which is a good amount more of flying around. And then lastly for the duelists, we've got Storm. They're going to tone her down a good amount. First of all, the damage fall off of her main primary wind blade at 30 meters will be going from 70% down to 60%, but the big one is her own self-damage buff from her weather control. She was getting a 16% damage boost while in that form. That's going to go down to a 12%. However, her allies that were within this range were only getting an 8% boost. This is going up to 10, so a nice little buff for everybody else. And then lastly, to follow this, when she supercharged this ability, it gave her a 30% damage increase. This is going to go down to 25. Now, don't worry, guys. When Storm does go into overcharge, she can still kill a 250 HP character with 2 primary attacks and a right click. Moving on to strategists, we start with Adam Warlock, who's usually regarded as one of the worst of the bunch. They're doubling down on making Adam Warlock the deadly strategist by increasing his damage of his primary from 55 to 60, alongside a damage fall off at 40 meters from 50% to 60%. Now, alongside this, Adam Warlock's Soulbound is going to heal a little bit better for everybody linked inside from 10 health per second to 15 health, which is, you know, nice for a little bit of extra survivability. Next up is Cloak and Dagger, and there is a lot going on here, mainly involving their ultimate ability. Now, first and foremost, Magneto, it's going to be a lot harder for him to hit you. The rate of the dash that they do in their ultimate is a hell of a lot faster, going from 1 second to 0.67 seconds, but they're not able to stack these dashes, which is huge. You probably did this in every single game, and this is going to change a lot around how the ultimate works. They're going to compensate it. It's not a full compensate, but 220 healing per second is going to go up to 250. But then on top of that, the entire ultimate is reduced down in its entire time, going from 10 seconds down to 8 seconds. So in short, it's going to be a bit more of like a line rather than these squares or stacks that you see with the ultimate. But it is going to be better to not get slammed by Magneto each and every time. And then lastly, Cloak did get a little bit of a damage boost, that little purple cloud that he shoots at people. Those enemies could take 20% more damage. It's now 28%. Now, quick one here for a couple other strategists. Invisible Woman is getting just a bit of an increase of her overall ultimate ability. Her old charge time was 4,000. This is going up to 4,300. So just a bit longer to charge. Now, Loki, on the other hand, is getting a massive increase to the time it takes to charge his ultimate, going from 3,400 up to 4,000. That's double the amount that Invisible Woman got. However, big change here. They're increasing his main primary ammo from 10 to 12, which is absolute massive. This is a much bigger change than people think when it comes to damage and healing on the character. And then lastly, Luna Snow's also getting a pretty large adjustment to her ultimate, increasing the energy cost of Fate of Both Worlds from 4,000 up to 4,500. Now, last but not least, guys, we're going to talk about the team-up abilities, seeing a good amount of buffs and nerfs across the board. First up is Atlas Bond, the ability you probably saw the least with Luna Snow and Iron Fist. Not only is Iron Fist better, but now they're increasing the healing amount that Frozen Chi does from 50 up to 75, and the slow effect on enemies from 20% up to 30%. Now, the dimensional shortcut from Psylocke and Black Panther also getting buffed to team up with Magik. They'll be reducing the rewind time from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and the conversion ratio of lost health to blue armor will be increased from 0.5 to 0.8. Gamma Charge, the obvious best team up in the entire game. Gamma Charge is getting a massive nerf. They're finally reducing the Death Star ray that Iron Man spits out, his damage from 220 per second down to 200, and they're going to reduce Hulk's team-up anchor health bonus from 150 down to 100. Cloak and Dagger and Moon Knight's team-up is getting a buff. Now, Moon Knight's invisibility field is going to be constantly healing him now for 25 health per second, which is a massive buff up to the character. And then last but not least, the Symbiote Bond with Venom, Spider-Man, and Penny Parker. They're going to be making this animation much shorter. The duration is going to go from 4 seconds to 1 second, and they're replacing the 50% damage reduction effect with a new invincibility effect. Now, Penny Parker is going to go from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and she's also going to get this invincibility effect. And there you guys go. This is what everything's going to look like on Friday, and I'm excited to see kind of how everything comes together and how things are going to change, what heroes are going to rise, what are going to fall, and I'm probably going to make a video on kind of the new best mains going into the next season. Probably be my next video. We'll see. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Have a great one. Subscribe if you haven't, and until the next one, happy rifling.